What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you a crazy relationship drama story involving a woman who has a kid through a surrogate who she believes is her own kid, but actually finds out that her husband slept with the surrogate a number of times throughout the pregnancy, and that was actually the reason for the pregnancy, not the surrogacy process, which she paid so much money for. There is also an update to this one 5 months later, which of course we're going to get into. So without further ado, sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you aren't already. Let's go. Am I the jerk for divorcing my husband and leaving him with the kid after finding out I'm not biologically the mum? The original post for this one came on August the 5th, 2024. I can't believe my life has come to this. All I ever do is go out of my way to help others, but on the few occasions I need help, nobody ever comes through for me. I am a 36-year-old woman, and I've been with my husband, who is 35, for almost 10 years. We've been married for 7. We had what I thought was my child by surrogate over 2 years ago, because after 4 years of trying to conceive with no success, despite medical intervention, it turns out I am unable to carry a child to term. I'd always wanted to be a mum. Devastated is an understatement regarding how I felt when I found out I have a medical condition that would make it nearly impossible to carry a baby to term. It was even more upsetting when I had to get a major surgery to remove uterine growths with the hope to increase fertility, and complications during surgery warranted a partial hysterectomy involving removal of my uterus. I still had my ovaries, so we started looking into the cost of a surrogate. It's really expensive. My close friend since college, who'd already had 2 kids of her own, offered to serve as the surrogate for us to cut down on costs. After 2 disappointing IVF sessions that didn't result in pregnancy, she became pregnant on the 3rd try and carried a boy to term for us. I was so happy and busy after the birth, between being a mum and returning to work after a 4-week paternal leave, so I didn't notice any warning signs. I should have noticed the red flags and warning signs early on, but I didn't. I was just so exhausted from working so much at my stressful job, and on top of that, 2 part-time jobs to cover most of the bills, and the anticipated medical and legal costs associated with this friend becoming our surrogate. I was the primary breadwinner. Now, my friend and my husband started talking more. I'd actually sometimes come home from my weekend job to find her already hanging out at our house when my husband was there. I chalked it up as innocuous. It's good for her to know my husband better, since she was in the process of hopefully carrying our child for us. I was grateful to have someone helping us have a child. I also then thought it weird that our son has brown eyes when both of us have blue. Then I found out that while this is uncommon, it is possible sometimes due to many genes controlling eye color. Recently, it all came to a head when I took our son to a doctor's appointment and they did metabolic panel and blood tests, which showed that he had a blood type that is not biologically possible to have with me as his mother. He's B+, I'm A+, my husband is O+. Immediately, I started worrying it was the fertility clinic's fault and that they'd messed up and implanted a wrong embryo. I started lining up lawyer consultations to possibly sue the clinic, and I looked into having a DNA parentage test done. The test results showed that I'm not the mother, but my husband still is the father. I was heartbroken and angrier than ever. I talked to lawyers about medical malpractice in the fertility clinic we'd used. Then my husband confessed that he'd slept with my friend, our surrogate, on a few different occasions during our struggle to have her get pregnant with our embryos. This means what I thought was our son conceived by IVF and carried with a surrogate isn't my son at all, and he was in fact conceived the old-fashioned way, which I can't even do. Livid and absolutely broken at the same time doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. I've been breaking down into crying spells over and over again about this. He claims he didn't ever think pregnancy could result because he pulled out, and he'd always assumed that he was the reason for our earlier struggles to conceive, both before my hysterectomy and during the IVF insemination process with this friend. I felt an immediate triple betrayal from what was supposed to be my husband, my friend, and now knowing my child isn't even really mine. I had such white-hot rage and delirium, I immediately left home and stayed at a hotel for almost a week before asking my parents to let me stay at home for a while. I admit I left our son with him. I'm now filing divorce because he cheated and betrayed me in the worst possible way. I've also cut off my friendship with my friend, the surrogate, and I feel afraid to trust anyone else now. I've seen a divorce lawyer to see about giving up my legal rights to this kid, so I don't have to face such betrayal or owe child support. My husband and friend, surrogate, admit they were wrong and keep apologising, but also called me immature and heartless to just give up on my son like that. My parents also say I can't just give up on a kid that I went through so many legal and medical hoops to have. When I told them I refused to stay in a cheating marriage and I'd rather adopt someday with a better, more trustworthy partner, they also told me that I was wrong and that maintaining my parental rights isn't much different than if I adopted outright. They said it isn't blood that makes a family. They're all about me divorcing my cheater husband, but they keep telling me I'm making a mistake giving up my parental rights. Some of my other friends agree with what I'm doing. A few admitted they weren't big enough to swallow pride and care for an affair baby, or to see daily reminders of my friend/surrogate's betrayal every time I look at her son. I just want a clean break and a fresh start. I'm also looking at relocating several states away. So, am I the jerk for giving up my parental rights in the divorce because a kid I paid a lot of money to have born by surrogacy isn't biologically mine at all, but is actually the surrogate's? Okay, wow, what a story. First of all, let's jump into some comments before I give my thoughts and we get into the update for this one. Somebody said, "No, you are of course not the jerk. You've suffered a terrible betrayal. Only you can say what's best for you. Personally, I wouldn't be able to look at the child without being hit with the betrayal again and again. Your parents and friends don't have to actually deal with that situation, so they don't get a vote. Your soon-to-be ex is a real piece of work. You're immature? I'd want to throw up if I was in the same room with him. Please get some therapy to work through this. Don't let these two jerks hold you back from living your best life." Completely agree with all of that, by the way. The immature comment is just ridiculous. Like, when you know you're in the complete wrong and then you have a go at the person that you've done this to by calling them immature, it's insane. Anyway, OP replied to this saying, he feels like biological maternity shouldn't matter that much when it means that I am finally fulfilling my dream of becoming a mother. He says that if I adopt someday, I'm still going to have to raise a child that isn't biologically mine. How does that make any sense? There's a difference. On the one hand, when you adopt a child, you know it's not yours. But when you have a child through a surrogacy, like, you don't also think it's not yours. It's your genes. It's completely different. I know it's not in your belly, but come on, man. Anyway, let's carry on. OP says, he has reminded me about what a depressive wreck I was during the infertility, the aftermath of my partial hysterectomy, and how I put him through the ringer because I was obsessed with wanting to have a child. He claims that I pushed him away with my baby obsession and he couldn't deal with me anymore, and that's why he started straying the way he did. He also says that I can't just turn my back on a child when I legally signed all the paperwork, which is similar to adoption paperwork, since the state doesn't readily recognize a child born to a surrogate to be the couple's child, since they base it on the person who gave birth to the child as being the legal mother until paperwork is signed that transfers the rights over. He also claimed that I'm going to have a difficult battle ahead of me trying to reverse that. What a nice person your soon-to-be ex is. Jesus. Now, somebody said that OP should ask her husband and the surrogate to actually reimburse her for the cost of IVF. OP replied to this saying, I tried and failed. The doctor and clinic I complained to said the IVF costs were associated with the formation and storage of embryos and the procedures associated with the insemination, not the outcome. OP then also responded to a question about her ovaries or eggs being intact or not. She said, obviously I have eggs if my ovaries are intact, and they extracted eggs to form the embryos prior to inseminating. There's still eggs remaining there. Well, I suppose that is good news. I don't know if OP will be able to go through this process again with another surrogate after this rubbish. I mean, think of the trauma, but who knows, at least the option is there. OP then explained fully in the comments the process of the fertility clinic being involved. The fertility clinic was just involved in the egg extraction, embryo formation, and storage of eggs and embryos. Another medical practice utilized the in vitro fertilization methods with the person I thought would be our surrogate. He didn't pick the surrogate for us. It was a personal friend who agreed to do this out of the supposed kindness of her heart, since she already had 2 prior children and knew that she could carry to term easily and didn't mind being pregnant. Had we gone through a professional surrogacy practice, there would have been other steps involved, and they would have found a few options for surrogates for us, but the costs were way too high, which is why we skipped some steps and a lot of money by going through a friend that we thought we could trust. Now, I feel like I can trust no one. I don't even feel like I could try surrogacy again in the future because my trust in that is broken. Well, there we go. I suppose that is the answer to my question, which is a real shame. Somebody else commented, "You're obviously not the jerk. One of the things that gets me though is that you were working extra jobs to pay for the surrogacy, which I'm assuming included her medical bills and financially supporting her. I'd speak to a solicitor about suing her for your money back. She knew that if she was having sex, there was always a chance that the child was biologically hers." OP said, "Most of the cost was for the egg retrieval, embryo formation and storage, and especially the IVF procedures, which weren't eligible for insurance cover through her health insurance." Yeah, I see. I mean, tough spot, but surely there is something you could do there. Something legal you could do there. Like, you can sue for something. Surely, like damages of any sort. There must be rights or, like things that you can't do as a surrogate mother. I mean, there has to be, otherwise it would just be ridiculous, right? And I know this wasn't a professional surrogacy, but surely you can't have sex during surrogacy or like supposed surrogacy with one of the people you're meant to be like doing the work or doing the job for. I don't know. I don't know any of the rules clearly, but if you do, I suppose they also differ wherever you are in the world, but let me know in the comments down below what the laws are where you are. OP actually then answered finally a couple of questions about the surrogate. Firstly, her family, saying she doesn't have a husband. She had 2 kids with a long-term boyfriend, but they split 5 years or so ago. She's not married. She was with her ex for a long time and had 2 kids with him, but they didn't marry and then they broke up. Somebody asked, finally, did the surrogate sign legal papers regarding the parental rights? The only paperwork that was legally drafted was for her transferring over the parental rights to us, much like an adoption in the event that there is already a mutual off-the-books agreement to adopt from someone already personally known. We were trying to do it as cheaply as possible because we don't make much money, and the cost that couldn't be avoided was sky high, enough to the point I took out loans from the bank and then picked up those 2 part-time jobs on the side to pay towards these loans. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there we go. That is it for the original post and some comments. Now, as I said in the intro, there is an update to this one, which comes 5 months after the conclusion of that. However, I do just want to say one thing, and I feel like most things have been cleared up by the comments, and I do agree with the majority of what was said there. The one thing that I just don't think has been talked about enough is the level of betrayal. Like, it's actually insane from so many people. Well, I say so many people, it's only actually your husband and the surrogate in quotes. But like, it's actually crazy. I mean, the fact they've gaslit you as well is just the cherry on top. But that's the one thing the comments aren't really saying. It's just, yeah, you've suffered a lot of betrayal, but like, think about the actual trauma. This would have gone on for your entire life, right, if you hadn't found out. I don't think that you would have ever been told by your husband or by the surrogate what actually happened. So there is a decent chance that you could have gone your entire life with having a son that you obviously thought was your son that actually wasn't ever related to you. And I know we see these things sometimes on, like, we have Jeremy Kyle, well, not anymore, it was cancelled in the UK, but like Jerry Springer in the US. It just is insane, and I don't actually think that sometimes I realize how common stuff like this is, or actually how easily it can come about, because all that has happened here is just 2 people have well, one person has cheated, but all you need is for these 2 people to hold this truth for their lives, which, I don't know, they probably could easily do so. I mean, they did it for a while anyway, and then you find yourself living an entire life where you think you're a mum, but you're actually not. You know, when you see on these shows like, oh, this woman finds out after 25 years that you are not the mother or you are not the father. I'm always a bit like, okay, that's just ridiculous. But this is not ridiculous. I can see how this would happen, 100%. Very tough. But as I said, let's get into the update that came 5 months later, which was actually left in the comments of the original post. It wasn't a separate update. So this was January the 4th, 2025. And OP said, I'm low on time right now. I'll be posting a separate update post later. Now, at the time of recording, that hasn't happened, which probably means that, yeah, very, very stressed. No time at all. But they still say, I'm not staying. and I'm not caring for him anymore. I wasn't even offered a choice in the matter at all, which is why I've kept telling myself I shouldn't want to compare myself to men in a similar type of parentage situation, and I've kept myself aloof towards the boy I thought was mine. I've no legal rights anymore, no matter what, because she fought to get her son back. I'm actually a lot more upset about losing this child than I presented in my post, and I'm realizing more and more with each passing day, the choice wasn't mine and I lost. Oh my gosh, I see. I posted that I wouldn't want to be the sucker raising someone else's kid as more of a cope than anything. She got to have her kid. He left me and I'm stuck with nothing. What the heck? And that is all for the post. I didn't really fully grasp that when I started reading that, but wow. So the surrogate actually fought back. Well, not the surrogate, I suppose. The actual biological mum fought back and said, no, this is my kid. I am the mum and I'm going to be the mum. Jesus. Okay. OP did add a little bit more context in the comments, explaining about being the legal guardian in the question after the maternal test confirmed her not to be the biological mother. She said, and yes, that is exactly what I've been going through all these months. I have little to no rights. I'm stuck coping with major loss. I suppose the question was asking, like, what rights do you have as a legal guardian if you're actually not involved with the kid at all, like biologically, right? My best chance at still being this boy's guardian is to stay with that awful scrub of a guy, hope he lets me stay, and agreeing to let that slaw of a friend, I've never heard slaw before, but that is a wonderful word. I presume it's a combination of two derogatory words, but I might use that myself, have 50-50, and be the chump who still pays most of the bills for that unmotivated scrub SOB in the meantime, while he continues to cheat. It also came out that she wasn't his only affair either. He's been cheating all along for most of the time that we'd been trying, without success of getting pregnant. Oh my gosh. So for anyone who acts like I'm selfish, or I make their blood boil, they can go F themselves. They don't know me like that, and I don't have any real choice in the matter. Holy heck, is all I can say. Just insane. Just absolutely insane. Like, wow, what a story. I'm absolutely shocked at that outcome. I didn't actually talk at all in my comments after the first post about the main point of the update, as in how would you feel and how is OP dealing with the fact that, yeah, it's not her kid anymore, but like her parents were saying, do you have to be blood related for it to actually be your child? Like, you know, if you adopt a kid, then they're still your child, right? Does the biology of it really matter that much at all? OP said at first that it did matter. Suppose a few months later she realized that it doesn't matter, or at least doesn't matter as much. But, you know, after 2 years of raising a kid, to then just have them taken away like that, even though they're not yours, is yeah, clearly more impactful, I suppose, than OP expected. But Jesus, I mean, somehow the surrogate, in quotes once again, and your ex, or soon to be ex, I suppose, I guess he left you said in the update, are even worse than I first thought from reading the original post. Wow, that was a very short update, but one of the most impactful and just like destroying that I've read. I'm actually slightly lost for words. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. As always, drop your comments down below. What do you think about these two people in particular? And yeah, give some love to OP in the comments, because as I said, this was posted just at the end of last year, and you know, it's only been a month or so since that update, so she's still obviously going through it. But wow, what a story. Let me know your thoughts, and I will catch you on the next one.